What's up, everyone? Welcome to Back to the Future, the podcast that takes a trip down Philly sports memory lane and asks the question, what if? I'm your host, Jim Montgomery, and today is July 31st, which means tomorrow is August, which means one thing. It's time to start gearing up for football. Yes, we're still going to do a little bit of baseball, especially since the Phillies are in the thick of the playoff race. Hopefully today there's some possible additions to their team. But that's something we can look at down the road once the day's over. But it is August. That means football. So today we're going to take a trip down memory lane, but a more recent trip, going back to 2020. You might remember that from the pandemic. But since it's training camp, since it's a preview, we're going to do what if Jalen Hurts actually is the answer for the Eagles at quarterback. So you might remember in 2020, second round of the draft, the Eagles selected Jalen Hurts, and definitely was raised some question marks, especially even for me, because at the time you had Carson Wentz coming off of a couple injury seasons, but kind of they just gave him that big contract. So everybody thought, okay, Carson's the answer. This is where we're going to go. He's our quarterback. And then boom, there's Jalen Hurts. And we all know how Carson reacted to it. He felt some type of way. It definitely, I think, put a little bit of pressure on him. Didn't help that year the Eagles weren't that good. You had Doug Peterson in his last year. Ultimately, they ended up trading Wentz to the Colts in the offseason, and here we are now. This is year 2 of Jalen Hurts as our starter. Got off to a little bit of a slow start, I would say, last year. Part of that, I think, was because we had a rookie coach and new system. They did put it together and made that playoff run ultimately before getting blown out by the Buccaneers. They did a lot this offseason, so we'll talk about that. And like I said, see if Jalen Hurts is the answer at quarterback, or are we kind of going back to some of those dog days of the late 90s, early 2000s before Donovan and Andy came over. So the Eagles opened up camp last week, I think, or the week before. And with the CBA, it's very, very different now. I remember growing up when they used to practice in Westchester, and I mean, it was 20 minutes away. So we used to have a blast. We'd go over all the time. And that was those Buddy Ryan days. And those are, again, the teams I grew up with, and just they never won anything, but you can see they're a very important part of my childhood as well as my Eagle fandom. I remember a couple good stories. Randall obviously was one of my favorites. He kind of went through his diva stage, and this was before, I think, the injury. I remember going one day, and now it's super secure everywhere. Like you got to go through the metal detectors, which I guess rightfully so, because the NFL has grown into that. But before, you could get them right walking out of the locker room, just randomly walk up to them, ask for autographs. And I remember one day he was walking out and just tunnel vision, looking straight ahead. And I was like, "Oh, Randall!" And he just walked right by me, stepped right on my foot with his cleat. And you would think that would turn a young fan off from liking him, but no, not me. He's still up there as one of my all-time favorite Eagles. But yeah, he definitely stepped on my foot with his cleat, and it hurt. Another good story, and I finally did get the autograph years later. But I remember going up. Seth Joyner had a group of kids around him, and I had his football card, and I went up, waited. Got there, my pen didn't work. He grabbed a pen from somebody else. That pen didn't work. And he just gave me my card. So I had the beginnings of an S on a Seth Joyner card. And I'm sure if I look through my pile of cards, it's there. But love Seth today. I love all the work he's doing for Eagles Postgame Live. And I know he's with a new company now, and they plan on doing a YouTube show after. But I love him. Finally got my autograph. But yeah, that was very disappointing to a kid. So I'm actually taking my son to camp on Tuesday. The Eagles sent me an email. We were selected for VIP passes. So I'm looking forward to doing that with him. It's obviously not going to be the same as when I was a kid, but we're excited. We're going to go grab him football, make sure he can go and get some autographs. I did call them to make sure, and they're like, well, we can't guarantee. I'm like, no, 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 no. Like, I understand you can't guarantee. So hopefully, since we're in the VIP area, he'll be able to get some autographs, take his football, and kind of I'm passing that torch on to him. So that's, I think, what I'm hoping to get out of it. Hopefully he cooperates, but we shall see. But like I said, the whole CBA thing is different now because I remember usually it was like the second week, right after the 4th of July, the rookies started to come in for training camp. And I think that was before OTAs and things like that. And it just was like you had this anticipation, like it was like a month almost before the first preseason games. And I just remember like reading the updates in the paper, the Daily News did, Eagles, the recap every day. And I just remember getting the paper and being so excited to hear what was going on, how the team was looking, and things like that. It meant summer was winding down, which was always kind of one of those things as a kid. You didn't want summer vacation to end, but you knew that it wasn't long before football was here. And the Eagles were just the number one team for me back then. And if anybody remembers back to those days when the Phillies were just terrible, there wasn't at that point you were tired of watching losing baseball. So it was a big deal when training camp started. I actually, my first Eagles game ever was a preseason game against the Jets. My aunt's dad had season tickets at the Vet down in the 300 level, pretty decent seats. And as a season ticket holder now, I get it. No, you didn't want to go to a preseason game. It's hot. Most of the players don't play. It's all the young guys. But for me, it was great, even to see those teams like Reggie and Seth and Randall, even if they were in for like one drive or one quarter, like that to me was the greatest thing ever. And then obviously you didn't recognize at that point half of the guys then that played in the second half, but it was just cool to be down there. So shout out to Big Ed, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but he was a huge Eagles fan. He would have loved the 2017 Super Bowl winning team. But like he always, like between him, my dad, my Uncle Boo, some combination of the two of us would always go down to those games, and it was just a lot of fun. Yeah, it was preseason, but I mean, for me, going into the Vet, it was just something big. And again, like I always get kind of sentimental this time of year because it's like summertime, it's coming to an end, but football. So with all of that being said, let's go back and look at Jalen Hurts. And obviously, if you're reading the Philadelphia media and things like that now, reviews are kind of mixed on how his camp's going. Even earlier in the year with OTAs, it was, oh, Hurts looks great. Hurts looks great. And more recently, it's like, Hurts doesn't look so great right now. So because camp is so closed now, and I think, again, some of that is because of the CBA, some of that is because the NFL has just exploded. Even when they went to Lehigh for training camp, when they left Westchester, it was still sort of open. Like you could go up every day, but like there's crowds then. They started going through, you had to get tickets for autographs and things like that. So obviously from the time I was a kid, 40, 30, 40 years ago, it's definitely different now than what it was. So you're kind of relying on those reporters, and I don't know, like you could read two different reports from training camp that any given day, and one's going to say he's doing great, one's going to say he's doing terrible. So I don't put a lot of stock in that. I'm actually looking forward to go. Obviously, I want to take my son. Hopefully, he gets some autographs and gets to see the players. But I actually want to see, like, I want to see how good he looks. He is the guy, at least for this year now. So let's see if that was the right decision. I mean, if anything, they went out and helped the guy out. They went out, they traded on the draft night for AJ Brown, who is one of his best friends, who's super excited to play with him. So I don't think they actually played together in college, but they went to a lot of camps down in the South when they were coming up from out of high school before they went to college. So that alone, I think AJ Brown is a big receiver. Yes. And I know this from a fantasy football perspective. Sometimes he is a little injury prone and will miss some time, but hopefully he comes in motivated, wants to stay healthy. They gave him the big contract, but he's playing with his best friend. So hopefully that is going to be a big thing to help Jalen Hurts out this year. Defensively, I think last year that was kind of the question mark. Gannon's defensive scheme. I'll never forget the at one point early in the season, they asked him, "What is your defensive scheme?" And he basically said, "I don't have one. I'm still trying to figure out." Not necessarily the confidence building you want from your defensive coordinator, but eventually they did kind of pull it together. And again, they made that playoff run. And then Gannon actually was receiving a lot of interest in for head coaching jobs at the end of the year. So maybe he figured it out, and that's good. They definitely brought in some players that's going to help. Hassan Reddick, Temple's own. I'm super, super excited. He was on those teams that when Temple was really good. I'm super excited for him. I can't say that enough. They did bring back Fletcher Cox kind of on a 1-year deal, maybe almost like a prove it deal for him. Kazir White, who is actually from Macungie, PA, so a local guy. They signed, went out and got James Bradbury, the cornerback from the Giants, Tart, the safety from the Niners. They drafted Jordan Davis and Kobe Dean. Like these guys actually just won the national championship for Georgia, are huge. So they should add some size and depth to that defense. So I'm thinking defensively, they should be able to help Jalen out somewhat. I think having guys like Reddick, who has Philly ties, White, who has Philly ties, I think that's going to help. Obviously, AJ Brown, who's Jalen Hurts' best friend, that should help. But they also went out and added Zach Pascal, who gives some depth to the wide receiver and actually, hopefully, kind of spark some competition within that wide receiver room. We know Howie has kind of made a couple questionable picks over the past couple of years, but hopefully Devontae with AJ Brown, you have a very, very formidable starting wide receiver group, and then you have some depth now. And again, like I said, hopefully that's going to open up some competition and make those other guys better. Jalen Reagor, I'm hearing reports, and again, nobody's there to see it. He might be the last guy out. Everybody knows that he was the pick the Eagles made instead of Justin Jefferson. So he's got a lot to prove. So hopefully bringing in some of these guys will really help spark him. Running backs, a little bit of a question mark. You have Miles Sanders, who's on a contract year. He's saying all the right things. He wants the ball. Nick Sirianni the other day said he's our guy. So I'm looking for a big season from him, but even the backup guys they have, they're not bad. So they should be able to have a steady rotation. I do think that at some point, whether it's close to the end of camp or early in the year, they are going to go out and grab somebody else. But we'll see. Hopefully Sanders comes in motivated and wants to do the right thing and everything like that. So coming into the season, Jalen Hurts has the tools. He has the confidence. He doesn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder for Gardner Minshew to come in and play, which obviously there will be some Philly fans who are just Jalen Hurts haters and will want him to play. Minshew Mania, I know he just came to camp after they said he was living in a bus for 5 months in the gym parking lot. So dude's a little out there, and I think people like that, but I think it's more Jalen Hurts hate than Gardner Minshew love. So hopefully that will not be a distraction. Obviously, you're going to have your guys because every year since he won the Super Bowl, the Nick Foles lovers who want him back and want him to be the quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I love Foles, but come on, guys. Like this is Jalen Hurts. So let's see what he can do. For one, I'm looking forward to it because if he's not the guy, then we need to move on and try to figure it out. So if we're asking what if Jalen Hurts is the guy, I think it comes down to specific scenarios this year. And I think any one of the three is possible. I think the first and easiest one to look at is, what if he is the guy? We know he has the tools this year. We know the defense will be improved. Like I said, I still question Gannon somewhat as a defensive coordinator and his scheme, but I think now that the offseason's happened and he has some more of his guys in, I think you got guys that want to be here, that are motivated to do well. They have those hometown ties, play in front of their family and friends. So I think that should help. And again, having a better defense is going to take some of that pressure off of him, especially in some of those games where they might have to score some points to win. I do feel that running back's a question mark. I think Sanders, with something to prove, if he can stay healthy, should have a good year. If they want to make him the featured back, he could have close to 1,000 yards. I think he's good out of the backfield as a receiver. Gainwell and Scott coming in as a change of pace will help. I still think they'll probably sign somebody somewhere along the line, but I mean, I think he has the tools. I think tight end Goddard should have a huge year. So if Jalen Hurts is the guy, I think this team has a high upside. They could easily win 10, 11, 12 games. If he's the guy that they're saying he is, all the tools and everything break the right way, the defense takes huge steps forward. Miles Sanders stays healthy. I think the upside is there for this team. I think they'll be battling the Cowboys for the division title. I think they could make a run and win a playoff game or two, possibly get to the conference championship, which once you get there, and I know a lot of people are picking them, which kind of concerns me a little bit because it brings back memories of that whole dream team scenario when the Eagles went out and signed all these guys. And Vince Young made the comments like, we have the dream team. And they came out and shit the bed. I think I went 6-10 or something. So it does concern me that a lot of national people are kind of high on the Eagles. They could be, if everything breaks right, though. I do think they could have an outside shot of being a Super Bowl dark horse, kind of similar to what they had in 2017. Nobody expected them to make that run. And again, that's what scares me, that there are some expectations, and there are people out there that are picking them. So that scares me. But like I said, that's high upside. That is, if he's the guy, he takes that step forward and plays the way they think they're going to play. Second scenario, what if he's not quite the stud that everybody is saying he is, but he does take a step forward and is more of like a step up from a game manager? He does have some skill, some ability to play, to make plays and lead the team, and they become a run heavy offense. I think if he takes that next step forward, they should be decent. I wouldn't say quite good, but they should. Again, once they figured it out last year, they were a solid team. I don't think they were in the upper echelon by any stretch of the imagination, and that was shown by how they played against Tampa Bay. But still have the same questions. Hopefully the defense will step it up and these guys really play. I think that would be key. If Jalen Hurts doesn't step up, the defense really does. I think it might take some time for that offense to gel. So I think there might be some growing pains early in the season, but if he's not quite the stud we think, I think they're still in the mix, just like last year. They won 9 games last year. I think they could win 8, 9, possibly even 10 games, as long as, again, all those things break right. He takes a somewhat step forward. I think they could be in the conversation for a division title because of the Cowboys. And I'll get more into the Cowboys later, but they definitely in the conversation for a wild card spot. So I think I don't think you're gonna, if he doesn't take that huge leap that everybody is expecting and what he should be taking, but he takes a small step. I don't think they're going to be upper echelon, but I do think they're going to be one of those mid-level teams that is kind of fighting for the last wild card spot or so. So not great, but at least hopefully it'll be some fun watching the Eagles. And then you have the third final scenario is what if he just takes a step back or doesn't move anywhere and just isn't as good as the team thinks he is, or I think he is, or any of the people. And all of those reports are true coming out of camp that he's looking terrible and things like that. It was a bad draft pick. He's just the wrong guy. I do feel there's a lot of fans who think like that. Um, I think the defense, one way or the other, will probably keep them in it somewhat. I do think they're a sub 500 team if he doesn't take any step forward or even takes a step back. Um, they still have those pieces, though. I do like some of the things they have on offense. I think with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown, like you have two good receivers. So could they possibly go out and make a trade for a quarterback, draft one next year? Kind of thinking like the end of after the Eagles got rid of Donovan and you had like Jeff Garcia, Mike Vick, Nick Foles, where they were able to play well at times and keep them alive in the hunt for a wild card. Um, so is it going to be that, or is it going to go back to like Bobby Hoying, Ty Detmer, Rodney Peete when Ray Rhodes just nobody could be quarterback and they were just a horrible team? Like, I don't know. I think with the pieces in place, I'm thinking somewhere in between them. I don't know. It's going to come down to the defense. With those Andy Reid teams with Garcia and Vick and Foles, you still had like a solid core of a defense there. So those are the three scenarios with Jalen Hurts. So which one is it? I hope it's number one. I pray it's not number three. But truthfully, for me, I think it's going to be somewhere between one and two. I do think he's going to make a step up. I think it's going to be slow in the beginning. There's definitely going to be some growing pains. They're going to need that offense is going to need time to gel, figure out how people are going to line up. I think Sirianni is going to hopefully be creative enough to have some plays for everybody. But again, it's probably somewhere in between one and two. I, for one, do believe in Jalen Hurts. I think he has that like the intangible leadership. I think you can't teach that. I think I'd rather have somebody who's willing to work hard, who is a leader, who could get better, than somebody who has all the talent in the world but just doesn't put any effort in and doesn't try. And I know that's kind of funny, given that I'm a huge McNabb supporter. And I think that is why I think Jalen Hurts will be good. McNabb had all the talent in the world, but he was not a leader. I feel like he could have been more outspoken with things and step up. And I think Hurts has that. He really does. And I think he should continue to grow. I think he's working hard. I think the fact that Sirianni is in his second year now, he's more comfortable. He knows what's going on. I think he's going to take a step forward. I think if they win the division, he could possibly be a dark horse for Coach of the Year, especially considering that there's just so many question marks and what they were able to do. I think the Eagles could catch some teams by surprise. Personally, I think they're going to go 10-7 this year. I think if things break right, there's a couple swing games outside of the division. The Minnesota game, week 2 on Monday night, that home opener could go either way. If they lose that, they might be 9-8. If they win, they could be 11-6. It takes me a minute here. I'm still used to the 16, or I'm not used to the 17 game schedule yet. I think the other swing game is the second to last game of the season against the Saints. I think that could go either way because we're just not sure how they're going to play. They have some talent. I think a lot for them is going to come down to Alvin Kamara and how much, if at all, he gets suspended. But I think having both of those games at home is huge. And if they split, I think that's where you get the 10-11 wins. I do have them going 3-3 in the division, which they could go very easily go 2-4 or 4-2. I think they split with the Cowboys. I think they beat the Giants twice, and I think they end up losing one to the Commanders. I think somehow Carson Wentz, as inconsistent as he is, he's going to become out motivated, and hopefully it's not that first or the third game of the season when they travel down to Washington. But I do think they will lose one of them. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, they go 4-2 in the division. They split with the Cowboys, split with the Giants, or split with Washington, and that's going to be huge. And I think if they go 4-2 in the division, they win it. I also think, and I've heard this from a couple different people as well, but I know the Cowboys aren't necessarily high on Mike McCarthy as their coach. I know Jerry Jones came out and said, "Oh, he's our guy," but also he wants a deep playoff run. So Mike McCarthy, I don't know if he's a good coach. He kind of just is living on that win with Aaron Rodgers in the Super Bowl, but I know he's kind of on the hot seat. I think there's rumblings out there that I think Jerry Jones even said something like, "Oh, I have options as far as coach," but then he gave his support to McCarthy, which to me that kind of means he's already moving on. And I think you're going to see Sean Payton eventually is going to be the coach of the Cowboys, and I think the Cowboys are going to take a step back this year. There's also the stat that no team has won back-to-back divisions since back the early 2000s with the Eagles. So I'm wondering if this Cowboys take a step back this year, Eagles take a step up, and they win the division. Again, I think a lot's going to be determined on those swing games and just how quickly Hurts can go. So, what if Jalen Hurts is the guy? I think the sky is the limit. I think there is a high ceiling for this team if he truly is the guy. I think if he's not, obviously, I don't think I'm saying anything like groundbreaking here, but I think if he's not, then at least you have pieces in place that you can go out and try to either draft or trade for a quarterback. I do know there's still the way Howie handled the draft. You still have some draft capital you can use. So the team has some options. So while I hope that Jalen Hurts and while I think he is the guy, if he's not, I don't think it's a complete disaster for the Eagles. So this year, obviously, they need to stay healthy. I think you can make that argument for any NFL team, but I think for them, like Miles Sanders, I think is going to be a key. Like if he can stay healthy and play for that contract, I think that is going to take some of the pressure off of Hurts. And I think that's when you're going to see him having a better team or a better season. And he has the receivers now where he can take some of the deep shots. And with AJ Brown's size, he can miss a little bit. I think that's something everybody always said McNabb was a little bit inaccurate, which he was, but he always had some tall receivers that made him look good. Even Todd Pinkston, even though he was as skinny as my pinky, he was tall, so he was able to go up and help McNabb out when he was high. So hopefully that happens. But ultimately, this is 100% on Hurts. Like it's time for you to step up. No excuses. Here's the tools you need. Let's go. Do it. You have all of these intangibles. Now let's see the talent on the field. And is that fair? Maybe, maybe not. But you're the quarterback of the NFL franchise. You're the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles, who, listen, whether rightfully so or not, the fans are tough because we have high expectations. And the fact that you ran, or I shouldn't say ran, but you were drafted in the second round, and ultimately they got rid of a guy who, yeah, he had his issues and was very inconsistent, but that Super Bowl year, he was the MVP before he got hurt. So those are some big shoes to fill. So I think it is fair. It's 100% fair to put this pressure on Hurts, and I think that's what he needs to hear. I think that's what he needs to do. He has the tools. And listen, he's also playing for a contract as well. So hopefully we see these guys come out and just be explosive. I do feel Gannon will be better on defense. I think he has some of his players. I think he's able to get his system in place. I think the fact that he was able to get some interest for head coaching positions is definitely going to help motivate him to be better. Sirianni obviously is going to be better as a coach. I think it took him 6 games or so last year to figure out, hey, if I run the ball, there's not as much pressure on Jalen Hurts to win games all by himself. And that's when they went on the run, and that's when they started to do well. So knowing that coming in as a run first team should help open it up. Like I said, you have Devontae Smith, who's a burner, AJ Brown, who's huge. Those are two that I would put them at least top 10 wide receiver duos in the league. And there's going to be some growing pains, but like you have the speed and the size. So Goddard should benefit from the attention that both of them are going to get. And I look for him to have a good year, especially as that safety valve over the middle. I think he could have 80 catches, 90 catches this year, close to 1,000 yards, depending on how things break. I still have faith in Sanders, and it pains me to say that as an anti-Penn State guy, but I think he's got the talent. He's good. I think ultimately I think he was better than Barkley in college, but we'll see. And I think he's playing for that contract. He's motivated. He's going to have that chip on his shoulder. So I think all of those pieces lead me to believe that they have the high upside. Like I said, ceiling is 12 games for this team, and a lot of things are going to have to break right for that to happen. Doesn't mean it can't. Personally, like I said, 10-7. I think they're going to win the division. I think Dallas, from the front office standpoint, is already planning on having Sean Payton come in. His comments and McCarthy is inconsistent. I'll give you my support, but I also have options, and you better make a deep playoff run. And I just don't know. They have some injuries they're kind of dealing with and going through. It also pains me to say that I actually like Dak. I think as long as you have him on your team, I think you're going to be good. But I think they take a step back. I don't think McCarthy's the guy. I think Jerry is already halfway to signing Sean Payton. And I think McCarthy's just living on that Packers win from years ago. So I think if all that happens, Hurts gets his contract. I don't think he's going to get Kyler Murray money. I don't think he deserves Kyler Murray money unless he goes out, wins 12 games, wins the Super Bowl. Then that's a whole different story. But I think he's going to get his contract. Hopefully it's worth it. And I think if they do that well this year, he should be fine. Like I said, it could be 8-9 wins. I think it could be as high as 11-12. Full disclosure, I'm putting my money where my mouth is. I did bet the over 9.5. I think, like I said, they win 10 games. So I'm just not a pretty face talking here. I did literally put my money where my mouth is. Am I being a homer? Maybe. I tend to be a very positive, optimistic person. So I always want to look at the glass half full. But again, talk to me in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, once the season starts, and I see them play those first 2 games or so. I might be having a different story. But until then, what if Jalen Hurts is the guy? I think he is, and I think this is the next natural progression. Could the Eagles be a Super Bowl contending team in a couple of years? Absolutely. Could they be at the top of the draft in a couple of years as well? Absolutely. But that's football. So it is July. I cannot wait for tomorrow. And yes, I'm looking forward to August, the end of summer, the start of football. Tuesday is going to be great when I take my son down. We're going down to the preseason game on the 12th with the whole family. So really, really looking forward to that. But again, if you guys could do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe, so that way you get the podcast delivered right to your inbox. Hit me up on Twitter, Jimbo_Mont, MONT. Check out our webpage, thepodpage.com/back to the future. And again, let me know what you think. Hit me up. Send me a text message if you have my number. Send me a message on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever you're watching this. Comment on the thing. Let me know what you think. Am I crazy for thinking the Eagles can win 10 games, possibly 11 or 12? Am I drinking the green Kool-Aid? Probably, but let me know what you think. Until next time, this is Jim Montgomery saying, I'll see you when I see you.